Young man, on today's video, I want to talk to you about relationships. We talk about how chasing sex and chasing women can be a big distraction in helping you to build yourself. I'll submit to you today that chasing relationships, chasing the one, chasing that girl for a relationship can be just as damaging, if not more, in your building process than chasing sex, right? Listen, I am the over 50 guy. On this channel, I give young men between 18 and 29, young men of any age, but particularly 18 and 29, I give you guys tips and advice on life and things that I experienced back when I was your age to help you avoid the pitfalls that a lot of guys my age ran into when we were your age. So listen, welcome back and let's get into it. So you know what, guys, real talk, I chased my fair share of women and sex and all of that stuff when I was in my 20s. I did that enough for 2 or 3 people. So I am absolutely guilty of that. But there's another thing that occupied a good majority of my young life. And guys, that is chasing relationships. And what I mean by chasing relationships, guys, is the ideal of settling down, one woman, trying to make that work, dating, family, having children, and that whole thing. Guys, I've been married 3 times. 3 times I've been married. I have been in love more times than I care to remember. And guys, with each one of those 3 marriages, they all ended in divorce. They all ended maybe 5 years apart from when we started them. It was a big process as far as going through divorce, and especially in my first marriage, ironing things out as far as my children. Guys, again, that's time. That is so much time, losing the house and having to build back up to try to get another one and starting all over again from scratch. And you have to leave the house and get the apartment. And guys, it's a lot. And I spent a lot of my young adult years trying to be in a relationship, trying to be in love, or I don't even know if it was really love, guys. I just wanted a woman for me. I was done with the streets pretty much in my early 30s, the clubs and that. And even though I chased, I really wanted just that one girl, me and my girl, me and you against the world, baby. That is really what I wanted. And I spent a good majority of my young years trying to obtain that. And it would have been great, guys. It would have been great if I actually found the one and made a life with her. But that wasn't the case. It was one right after the other. Some of that, guys, could have been, some insecurity as far as being alone and things like that. But what I do know, guys, is that comprised a lot of my young adult life, trying to maintain a relationship. So when I tell you guys that, chasing women and coochie is bad, chasing after relationships is just as bad, because all of that time, man, I could have easily spent doing the things that I'm suggesting to you. I could have easily spent that time, 5 years each relationship. That's 15 years, man. Not to mention all of the stuff that I had to do after the relationship was over. You might as well tack another year onto that. Guys, that's like 20-something years, almost 20-something years of struggling to maintain a relationship. So that can be just as distracting, if not more, than chasing sex and women. I would say, guys, if I had a chance to go back and do it all over again, I would not have prioritized being in a relationship or trying to be in one so tough. That time, I would have absolutely spent building myself so that later on in life, when I actually am ready to be in a relationship, see, that's the big thing right there, guys. If you're in your 20s, it's a good chance that financially, for sure, emotionally, mentally, you're not ready, guys. You're not ready, to be in a relationship to the point where You're not dealing with all of the baggage from childhood. And don't get me wrong, people have that in older relationships. It's just that, when you get a little bit older, a little bit more time and knowledge under your belt, maybe it's easier to navigate that. But it's very hard to do that at 20 years old, right? So that's why I say mentally and emotionally, psychologically, we're not ready for that. I wasn't ready for that. One of my biggest regrets, I have 2 children from my first marriage. And one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't stay in the house with them. I'm the only father they know. I've always been in their lives, but I think they could have done so much better if I was there with them day in and day out instead of the weekend dad thing, which I did for the majority of their life. And as I look back on it, guys, I wasn't ready. I was doing things that contributed to the demise of my marriage. Chasing the women and that type of thing, what 20-year-olds do. And that's why I say I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Psychologically, I was not ready to put my needs to the side for the sake of my children and for the sake of my spouse. I wasn't ready to be committed, right? So when you're chasing relationships at a young age, man, and you really don't have the wherewithal financially, you waste a lot of time there. You waste so much time in that. And Lord knows I did. Lord knows I did. So, the whole ideal of I'm looking for that one. If I can just find that one. And guys, let's be honest. They're all that one in the beginning, right? Every one of my failed relationships started, whirlwind, romance. And again, because, not being old enough to recognize a lot of things. Yeah, everything is great in the beginning. Sex is great. Everything is everything. And then as you go on, you start learning things about each other that you really don't like. And if you don't know how to fix those things, which at 20 you probably don't, that is going to end to the demise of that relationship. And when you do that over and over again, guys, you accumulate lost time. Again, when I look back over my 20s and 30s and, even a small part of my 40s, it was inundated with what I'm explaining to you now. Between the chasing the women when I wasn't married and trying to stay married, guys, I didn't do anything to build myself. I didn't do anything to build myself then. I was too busy being distracted by either being with a woman or trying to get a woman. There we go. There we go. That's where I believe a lot of you guys are at. Chasing a woman or trying to get one or trying to stay with one. So let me offer to you guys an alternative to that type of lifestyle so you don't end up burning a ton of your time that you could be using building yourself. Let me give you an alternative to that. An alternative to that could be, I am not going to pursue a serious relationship until I obtain some goals for myself. Rather that be financial, rather that be emotional, rather that be psychological. I'll have friends, because if you're a healthy, normal, heterosexual male, you should. I can have friends, but I cannot pursue a serious relationship because that serious relationship that 9 times out of 10 I'm really not ready for is going to take me away. It is going to become a distraction from me building myself. This is the time, men, where you have to be selfish. You have to be extremely selfish. And maybe selfish isn't the word. Focused. You have to be focused. See, when I was your age, I'd be focused for a second and a chick would come along, open my nose, and then my focus goes right out the window. For years. And then when that relationship ends, because it shouldn't have started in the first place, I get my focus back, and then another one comes along, and it's the same thing. You have to make a decision now, men. You have to make a decision now. First of all, I hate to break your bubble. I really do, because I know you believe that the next one you meet is beautiful as she is and as good as the body is and the sex is great, that this is the one. And guys, 9 times out of 10, it's not. I won't say it won't never happen. I'll just say that 9 times out of 10, it won't. Ask your fathers and your uncles about the ones they thought was the one. So instead of pursuing the one, right, you can, you have time for that later in life, right? Now is the time that you should spend with all the focus on building yourself, building your finances, building your emotional and mental state, just building your body, your health, building yourself as a man, right? And you can do these things and you can make a commitment to do these things before you pursue a serious relationship. Because if you don't, unfortunately, what will happen is that you will split time between the two, and you will look up and you would have burned, like I did, a good portion of my life with that. And you don't want that, man. I'm not saying that relationships are bad. I'm not saying that women are bad. I'm saying that you're going to have to make a decision early, now, about what it is that you want to do with your life. Do you want to chase women, relationship or otherwise? Or do you want to build yourself to the point where, like I said earlier, you don't really have to chase them, they're chasing you. Once you have yourself together, now it's a matter of what woman best suits my needs, not just sexually, right? What woman would be the perfect mother for my children? See, this is what I should have been thinking about when I had my children. No, I was caught up in how pretty and how great the sex was and how this, that, and the other. And consequently, that's why it ended, because it's more to it than that. So if you take the time, men, to build yourselves now, and then later on in life, when all of that is in place, now you can look and go, okay, who is best to fit in my program? That is markedly different than just, oh, she's the one. Markedly different, right? So that's the alternative that I would offer you guys. Instead of chasing relationships and trying to constantly be in relationships and trying to stay in one that is failing, trying to stay in one that is taking you away from the things that you know that you need to be doing to build yourself as a man. So listen, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for the likes and the comments. Please continue to do that. That is good for the YouTube algorithm. Share the video if you're getting any